Hello. I think we are live. I will wait for a few more minutes for some new viewers to jump in and also uh, make sure I have all the technical set up. Hi. Okay, so I see someone is tapping. So you can hear me, right? This is the second time I do live stream on my YouTube channel. So I'm still new to the all this technology. I'm not sure what I'm doing is correct. Still need to figure out how to work this out. But so good to have you all. Hey. Okay, thank you. Um for all those people who are typing in this live chat, thank you for tuning in to my live stream. Uh, shall we just wait for a few more minutes to for more viewers to jump in, and then we will officially start the live stream and it will start to explain the COVID situation in China. Shall we? So during this moment, thank you. CD sounds good, looks good, great. Thank you for getting back to me. Now I know you all can hear me. Great channel, important topic. Thanks, Holy Horn. And thank you all for jumping in. Everybody, so if you are new to my channel, my name is Li Jingjing. This is my personal YouTube channel. And if you don't know about me, I'm a journalist from China, working in China as a journalist for more than 10 years. I've been covering all the major political events or different stories across China, travel across China. And so I'm a journalist and political commentator. And for those who are subscribers of my channel, you know me very well, probably. I oftentimes publish videos on my YouTube channel. But I decided to do more live streams in 2023. So this is my second live stream. The first live stream was during the year end on December the 30th, 2022. That was the first time I tried live stream. And some of you really like that live stream. So I decided, okay, I will do more. Whenever there's some topics, some news that I think are really important, I will try to do live stream and chat with you on these issues. And if you have any questions, let me know. I will try to answer. So I think, hello, Lee, from greetings from Brazil. Hey, Felipe. Hey, thank you for subscribing, for watching. Okay. Yeah, there are a lot of speculations going around about how this is going to affect not just China, but also the world economy at large. Yes, later I will talk about that. So we will do how will this affect the world economy. So stay tuned. We'll start very soon. I see more people are jumping in, so great. Um, Hey, someone is asking me in Chinese, what's my plan during the Chinese New Year? Because I don't know whether you know, just next week. So on January the 21st, that will be the Chinese New Year's Eve, and January 22nd will be officially Chinese New Year. So a very important month and very important weeks because Chinese New Year, that's the or Lunar New Year for all the Asian people celebrating this festival. This is really important, the most important festival across the year, and this is in this month. So I would take a few days off during that time during the Chinese New Year. Okay, so someone watching know me from watching my CGTN videos. Thank you. Great to know that you've been paying attention to my work. Thank you so much. Okay. So, uh, oh, Lee Kwok Wa. You are from Singapore, always watching my YouTube. Thank you so much. So many people, I'm really surprised. Because this is my second live stream, if I made some mistakes, not familiar with the techniques, uh, please forgive me. I'm trying to figure out how this works, and I will try to do this more regularly in 2023. If it went well, I will continue to do more on this channel. So how about let's start. Okay, so everybody, my name is Li Jingjing. Welcome to my channel. Welcome to this live stream on the COVID situation in China. Uh, you probably know me. Most of you who are watching this live stream, I'm a journalist from China and a political commentator. I cover many stories, political events across China, and also I cover current affairs, subjects related to geopolitics across the world. And I'm dedicated to show the real stories, not just from China, but also for the whole global South. Why I'm doing that? Because many stories, even though countries like China and many countries in the global South, often being the subjects on several Western mainstream media, but they have their filtered, twisted view, and they also always speak on behalf of us. And most of the things just not true. So I think why letting those people tell our stories on our behalf, we can tell our own stories. So I'm a Chinese journalist. I always go to different countrysides, traveled across China, different regions, seeing, for example, how poverty alleviation projects was carried out in different corners. I interacted with the people, and I understand my language, Mandarin. Many foreign reporters, especially the from the major Western mainstream media reporters, even though they have been based in China for years, they cannot speak fluent Chinese, and they conduct interviews and make big stories. How is that possible? How can you truly um, be close, be understandable to each individuals if you don't know the language, if you cannot communicate with them? I can communicate with everyone in China because we all speak Mandarin. So I think I can tell these stories. So if you want to know the stories, you can go to my channel. I did some travel vlogs on JJ on the road, and also some. I invite guests from around the world to share their views on major geopolitical events. It was under the playlist called "Talk It Out with Li Jingjing." That's my show interviews. So why I want to do this live stream? Talk about COVID, new COVID policies in China and the current COVID situation in China. Because you know what, you see all those media, all those commentators from the West who used to attack China's strict COVID policies and lockdowns on a daily basis, now suddenly attacking the relaxation of China's COVID policies. They flip flop constantly. So they used to say your draconian COVID policies are damaging your people's living standards. And now they're like, oh, you just let the virus rip and that's gonna affect your people's life. So no matter what China's doing, whether you have strict policies, whether your Easter policies, they will attack. They will never be satisfied, and this is the typical, damned if you do, damned if you don't policies. It doesn't matter what China does, they will attack. But I know some of you are really genuinely concerned about the situation. You really want to know how will this affect your life and the world economy, and also probably if you want to visit China soon, how this gonna affect you. So I will explain this to you. Now, also, I will tell you what it's like to living under the strict restrictions in China. I say this as someone who lived through the 3 years of the COVID restrictions in China, and also as the reporter. I was the I was among the first group of reporters who volunteered to go to Wuhan, the world's first city, which was under lockdown, strict lockdown in early 2020. I volunteered to go to report the real situation in Wuhan. And it was a scarier time because we didn't know it was called COVID. it was unknown pneumonia, and it was very lethal. And also the city was put on like the first ever lockdown, a mega city under lockdown. That's the world's first. So when we went there, we didn't know when can we come back. And I went to several ICUs, different hospitals, makeshift hospitals. I interviewed many survivors of the original strain of COVID, and also the family members s- uh, who have family members passed away due to the COVID-19 original strains. So I have the experience covering the original outbreaks and also the experience living under the 3 years of strict COVID policies in China, and also experienced the relaxation of COVID policies in China. I recently recovered from COVID, and now back to work, back to normal life in Beijing. So I went through all. So I think I'm qualified to give a comment to explain this. So yes, also I will try to pay attention to the live chats and read some of the live chats during this live stream. But I'm speaking and also reading. Sometimes I don't have the full attention to read this. So um, excuse me and forgive me if I made mistakes or if I didn't see your comments. Okay, first, what's the newest COVID rules in China? So on January the 8th, China announced this latest COVID rules, and that basically is how to say farewell to the strict policies. There's a series of changes on COVID policies. It's several pages I printed out in Chinese. It's very long, detailed in every aspect, but I won't read all. But I think I will mention some aspects that probably gonna affect you and you care about. First, since the January the 8th, China downgraded COVID-19 from Class A to Class B, so they will take less strict measures. Second, they changed the name of COVID-19 from uh, from COVID pneumonia to COVID infections, because they gave the name COVID pneumonia in 2020 because most of the people show symptoms as pneumonia, serious pneumonia. But now, as it uh, changed to Omicron, and the symptoms are much lighter to most people, and also the virus didn't just attack lungs, respiratory system. They also attack different parts of your body. So I think now they change the name to infection is a more accurate depiction of the COVID-19. And also they mentioned detailed very specifically how to facilitate the vaccination for the elderlies, for the vulnerable groups, and also mentioned how to further protect people living in specific places that are vulnerable, such as nursing homes for elderlies. Even though most of the places have no strict restrictions, like we don't need to do tests or show our health code in most places, but I think if you are going to nursing homes with people in vulnerable groups, you still have to do certain procedures and protection. That's all for protecting those people in vulnerable groups, the elderlies, uh, and also people with certain underlying issues that make them very vulnerable to COVID-19, even though they are very young, even though they're middle aged. So I think everybody, no matter where you are, whether you're in China or in the world, if you have people or if you know people um, that are in the vulnerable groups, either they are your families or you probably just gonna go to visit a place and you know this place will be lots of elderlies, people with serious diseases and underlying issues. We all need to take some actions, some protections to protect them. Like we cannot just like, oh no, I do what I want to do. You cannot tell me to put on a mask. No, that's very irresponsible. We need to also think how our behaviors will affect other people. And this is what most Chinese people think during the entire 3 years. So I think very important. And last, I will tell. I think the most important most important rule that affect your life if you want to visit China is the since January 8th, 2023, there will be no more quarantines and mass testing for inbound travelers. And also, Chinese tourists can travel to other countries without limitations. They will start to reissue passports, and also no extra tests for all the goods, all the commercial goods being delivered through different borders. So basically, all borders are open. Inbound, outbound travels resumed. This is probably for many ordinary citizens and the travelers. This is the most important one. So I think on several aspects, this is very important because no matter how some commentators, media attacking the relaxation of China's COVID policies, actually China's eased restrictions will bring new vitality to the world's economy. For example, first is the industry. I think different industry and businesses, all those international companies, businesses, now their CEOs, their staff can travel freely, so they can resume the supply chain and also secure new deals. This is very important. Not just important for Chinese companies, also all the companies who have factories, who have branches, who have offices in China. And second, I think it's why it's also good for the world economy is the arrival of Chinese tourists and customers. I think in 2019, Chinese tourists accounted for almost 20% of the world's how to say, tourism or travel industry. So it accounted for 20%. So China has a lot of people, and they love traveling nowadays. So it now all these Chinese tourists will go back to all these different countries, different markets, and it's very important for all the travel related industries. For example, aviation, hotels, and retails. That's very important, especially now we are in the middle of a global recession. Different economies, different successful economies are struggling because we know what happened last year. A lot of things, right? The rising price of almost everything, the energy crisis, the pandemic, the inflation. So now with the arrival of Chinese tourists, this gonna bring a new vitality to other travel related industries across the world. And I remember reading the news on January 8th when China announced this relaxation of travel of COVID restrictions. The Chinese on there's very popular Chinese travel agency websites. The search for international destinations tripled within 30 minutes. I mean, just within 30 minutes of the announcement, the destination search already tripled. So, like, people can't wait to travel to different parts of the world. So, they will come very soon. Okay. I see some lot of comments. Let me see. Um, My UK city of Nottingham benefits hugely from China, as we have many young Chinese students who come to our university. Yes, I used to study and live in Sheffield. So I know very well there are a lot of Chinese students, Chinese people, Chinese business owners in different cities across UK. So I'm really looking forward to go back to visit the UK again. I really like my experience staying there. And okay, some of you leave really long comments. I will take a few seconds to read it. I think someone from Thailand left a message. Actually, a lot of Chinese tourists already traveled to Thailand, and was that the vice prime minister or vice some officials in the tourism industry in Thailand welcomed the Chinese tourists at the airport. So such a hospitality was very um, important to all of us. I traveled to Thailand before, so local people are always so nice to us. Really. So I'm really looking forward to go back to Thailand again. I can't wait to travel and explore China ASAP. Yes. Yes, let's continue. The not just the Chinese tourists and customers are arriving in different parts. All of you who want to travel to China, who want to visit China, explore China, understand Chinese culture, you can come here without tests and quarantine. So that's great, right? So do come here either in 2023, 2024, in the following years. Do come here. And I mentioned the benefits to the industry, to the small retails, travel related retails. I think the third most importantly, probably not very tangible, but I think very important, is the people to people exchange. Now we can have more people to people exchange, cultural exchange. And oh, right. And this new rules actually mentioned they will provide more convenient rules and facilitate, just make it easier for all the scholars, tourists, and who have families here, who have a work here to travel to China. So they're encouraging anyone outside of China, if you want to come to China, either for tourism, either for studying, either for visiting family members, either for working, that will be much easier. They will facilitate the visas issuing and everything. So that's very important. And why cultural exchanges and people to people exchanges very important? As we know, in the past few years, the this crazy anti-China narrative on almost all the major Western mainstream media is it's getting more and more ridiculous. And because of the trade war, all this like so we see this hostility between different countries and also between people. So we how can we truly understand each other, how can we reduce the hostility to each other, is to go to this place, talk to the local people, see everything for yourselves, and try to understand rather than just reading a news report telling you, oh, how horrible those people are. No, don't blindly just believe news reports or articles. You can use them as references, but I think nothing can replace the real face-to-face communications and also people-to-people exchanges. Very important. So those who felt China is evil, Chinese people are evil because of the media keep villainizing China or Chinese people, I think it's a good time for you to come here to travel to other places you want to travel. So and also same for the Chinese tourists, and when they go to different parts of the world, when they interact with the local people, you probably will have a different opinion about them, maybe bad, maybe good, but at least you're getting a real first-hand experience, right? Visit Sri Lanka, I will. Okay. Thank all of you for your leaving comments. Tourism in the regional countries, or do you think tourism industries to regional countries or Europe, America will benefit more? So by opening up of transport, I'm not really sure actually. This is more. I think this is more related to economy. So maybe if you want to know more about how this will impact the world economy, you can look for more ask opinions from economists. I think those who in the economy industry, they know the faster China recovers from COVID, the faster the world can recover from the global recession. Right. I think since you mentioned, I think I got some data. Let me find it because I just read it this afternoon. I got a screenshot on my phone. So, World Bank cuts most 2023 economic output forecasts. GDP expansion set to slow in all major economies regions except China. This is a newly released report by World Bank. I think you can find it on Bloomberg. So basically, World Bank think all major economies economic output will like reduce, but only China will grow since now China is reopening the borders and everything. All the supply chains, all the economies will come back. So that's the forecast. And also, I have another data. Let me find it. Um, this reopening also got Goldman Sachs and Morgan Stanley to raise China GDP growth forecast to about 5% for 2023. So you can also find it. Goldman Sachs and Morgan Stanley raised China GDP growth forecasts to about 5% for 2023. So this is just within weeks, 1 or 2 weeks after China reopened, and all these major economies already. I think the China's economy will have a good outcome in 2023. But of course, we don't know how it will really being carried out, what the true outcome will be, because now China uh, is facing a lot of challenges. But I think in the past we've overcome so many challenges. Uh, I have a lot of confidence here because this is not a blind confidence because I've been living in Beijing for 10 years, more than 10 years, and I've been living in China. I was born and raised in China. So I saw how fast it was developed. And just within the past 10 years. And also, I saw all these major changes within my lifetime. It's already surprised me so much. So, I have a lot of confidence in China about and overcoming all these difficulties. So, this is the new changes. And I know a lot of you probably have questions about now you open up and a lot of people are infected with COVID-19. So, what's the purpose of adopting these strict policies for the past 3 years? Why are you? Is that really necessary? A lot of you may ask. I know different people have different feelings about policies and strict COVID restrictions. I totally understand if you come from different cultural backgrounds, if you come from different societies, you will have different views. You may like strict COVID policies. You probably hate it very much, don't want it to happen because you think it jeopardizes your freedom. Understandable. But what I want to raise here is why it was so necessary for China to adopt such a strict COVID policies for the past 3 years. First, I would say China has 1.4 billion people, the world largest population. Most of you already know. But you know, China is also has an aging population. The latest consensus already showed that our populations are aging, getting older and older. So I have some data. You know, the according to the latest statistics, just all the Chinese people above 60 already reached 267 million. Just the old people above 60 already reached 267 million. That's very close to the entire population of the United States. The entire population of the United States is something over 3 million, 300 million, or 330 something. And China already has 267 million people above 60s. And if you and the forecast has estimated that by 2035, people above 60s will probably reach 400 million in China. 400 million by 2035 in China. 400 million is a lot more than the entire population of the United States. That also a lot more than the entire population in the UK, than a lot of countries. So just the old people, the population of the people above 60s in China is already a lot more than many countries' population. And we all know COVID-19 specifically targeting older people. Uh, Older people are the vulnerable groups. If you're younger, you're probably fine. But if you are young, even if you're middle aged, if you have serious underlying issues, you're still in the vulnerable groups. Some people, like when I know some I interviewed some people in Wuhan in early 2020. Many young people, they are very healthy, they're strong, intelligent, but still they passed away, or they survived but suffer from very serious, very bad the post-COVID symptoms, because the original strain was very lethal. Um, so that's the case. So that was very necessary for China to adopt such a strict policy to protect those people. And also, we have a different density of populations. If you come to China, you will see everywhere there are a lot of people, and we live in density, and it's very easy for a disease, a virus like COVID-19 to spread because there are clusters everywhere. But if you live in, for example, Norway, Denmark, Australia, if you live in the countryside, you probably don't need a quarantine or strict policy, because you basically live in a relatively isolated region. You don't get in touch with a lot of people so frequently. So it's okay. You don't take much measures. But in China, it's almost impossible everywhere there are a lot of people. So we have to take quarantine strict measures to isolate people from each other. And that's for us to protect our loved ones, our family members. Um, so it now China, you mean even in the 2020, when the COVID-19 was very lethal, the death tolls in Wuhan was around 4,000, and the entire death toll in 2020 was around 5,000. So if you consider such a larger population only has such low death rate, even though the original strain was so lethal, you will understand such quarantine strict policies was very effective protecting people. And I know a lot of people or commentators or media trying to say zero COVID will never be successful. You will never succeed in achieving zero COVID. But you know what? It was very effective. We did achieve zero COVID by May 2020. Even though, like, I think the memory was still fresh. Probably a lot of you still remember how horrifying the videos in Wuhan was, and later other cities, other countries also have huge outbreaks. It was the same. We all went through the same pain when COVID-19 was ravaging the world. But since May 2020, there was literally zero COVID. We can move freely. We will not be worrying about whether we're being infected, whether we will die. We were doing everything. But later, why we have outbreaks later? That's because there were different variants, and those variants came to China from the outside. and of course, we know Omicron is so transmissive. So if the world could all put into the same efforts to stop the spread in 2020, we probably wouldn't see this so many variants taking the lives, millions of lives across the world. But I understand not everyone, not every country can adopt the same policies like China did. That not just that China can achieve that not just because of a single policy or political policy. It's also connected with our culture and values. I remember in 2020, many people in different countries are still arguing whether they should put on a mask. Most people don't want to put on a mask, but in China or in many Asian countries, it wasn't a problem, and that's deeply connected with our culture. And some people may interpret it as the Confucianism is a big reason. That's shaped how we act, how we associate, because um, but I'm not sure whether it's the Confucianism that was the reason, but I do know in China or in many Asian countries, we really, really value the family, and we value the collective interests, and we respect authority. So in countries like China or Japan or South Korea, in Singapore, you don't see a much big problem of people wearing a mask. They don't argue about that, and they understand that we are doing lockdowns, we are doing this certain measures because we care about our community, we care about our families, we care about we can sacrifice our personal interest for the collective good. So it's not just a political decision, it's also deeply rooted in our culture and values in Chinese, among Chinese people. So I would say strict COVID policies was very necessary for China because it prevented millions of deaths. So very important. And even though we have the world's lowest death rate now, and see, like we're being attacked by the all the Western mainstream media heavily on a daily basis. Just imagine if we didn't take all the strict measures, and if we did let people like thousands of people die, what would they say? They would say even horrible things. I remember when the virus was broke out in Wuhan, all the media were attacking Chinese people all the time. When they put a lockdown on Wuhan, the media were, oh, like this is taking people's liberty away, taking people's freedom away. And then, when other countries start to have outbreaks, they said, oh, why you didn't contain it earlier? You should do that earlier. And people were avoiding Chinese people, avoiding Asian people because they think they are dirty, they're carrying the viruses, even though those Chinese people or Asian people have been living that country the entire life. So this spurred this racism. And then in later 2020, when China fully recovered from COVID and other countries are seeing explosions of COVID, they start to attack China again. China may how what's the title? This is the true title. China may defeated COVID-19, but at what cost? See, even though there was zero COVID, still not enough. They would say at what cost? And at what cost? Some of you may know it's the joke that it's not a joke because that's the lazy move many Western journalists use when they write stories about China. First, they always write negative news about China, and even if there's some positive, good news, about China, they will simply add at what cost. China may defeated COVID-19, but at what cost? China can cure cancer faster, but at what cost? China, there's like about air pollution. I forgot the exact title, but it's like China may cure air pollution, but at what cost? If you search at what cost in China, you will find tons of articles by this media. So that means no matter what you do, you can never be good. So, oh, Holy Horn, if recall correctly, that was the title. I mean, China may have defeated COVID-19, but at what cost, right? Exactly. You can find it. Just find search the words China at what cost. You'll find tons of articles. They can turn any good results done by China into a negative story. At what cost, right? Wow, so many of you leaving comments. Thank you so much. And now, since we talk about um, why it was so necessary for China to adopt these strict policies, and now why we are changing the policies. And first, the COVID-19 Omicron actually is much less lethal than the original strain, of course. And we had some outbreaks in different cities, and doctors, experts gathered enough data to analyze that the majority of people are only mild cases. The death toll are very low. So it's, and also the Omicron is so transmissive. I think the R naught is 20. That means one person can infect 20 people. That's a lot because normal uh, infectious diseases probably the R naught is only 2 or 3, means one can infect 2 to 3 people. But Omicron has evolved so much, it can affect 20 people. So I'm not sure whether it's true that this is the probably the most transmissive diseases in all time. You can check it for yourself, or you can ask the experts, epidemiologists, experts, or like people have are more qualified to talk about this. But Omicron basically has evolved into so transmissive that it was impossible to stop the transmission. So and so how to say now the change of the policy into into not only it was less transmissive, it also less lethal. So that's very important for the change of the policies. Now the change of policy means now China is more focusing on the economy recovery, because before we took these very strict COVID policies, um, but it would protect millions of people's lives, but it did have impact on our economy. But that's also very important to point out about, because the government basically prioritize protecting people's lives and sacrificing economy, even though it means sacrificing the economy, because put people's lives first, right? That's the most important. Um, but now, since it affect people's lives less, and now the focus is recover the economy. And what's the situation, COVID situation in in China now? I think I saw some articles saying like describing some cities like Beijing, like ghost town or whatever. But you know what? By far, Beijing has already reached its peak, and many big cities like Beijing, Shanghai, Guangzhou already reached its peak. Life back to normal. All businesses, retails are open. Every day I go to work, I go to the city center, the CBD, I will be stuck in the traffic jam for 10 or 20 minutes. If it was at the rush hour, it will be much longer, half an hour, 1 hour. So the annoying traffic jam already back in Beijing for like a few weeks. And excuse me, I've been talking for how long? 40 minutes? I need to drink some water. Traffic jam is back in Beijing. And during the Christmas Eve, I remember me and several friends want to have some dinners in some restaurant, but we spent 1 hour walking around the Sanlitun, the most popular social area in Beijing, and we couldn't find a restaurant with a table available because basically every restaurant, every clubs and bars are packed, fully occupied. I was surprised because everybody went out to celebrate. So our life back to normal. All shopping malls, all restaurants are open, and big cities already reached its peak and back to normal. And the smaller cities in China will follow this month and probably next month too. Especially in 1 or 2 weeks, we are having the Chinese New Year. During the Chinese New Year, before actually just 1 or 2 days before the Chinese New Year, we will have the largest human migration, because everybody is going trying to go back home, and so you will see the huge migration taking place across this nation. Everybody's traveling to different cities, so it's already started this week, and it'll get like worse the next week, the biggest human migration during the Chinese New Year. So smaller cities and villages probably will peak. The infection rate probably will peak this later this month and probably next month. But after that, everything will be back to normal. Again, this is very important. The faster China recovers from COVID, the faster the world can move away from global recession. And also, now the mood among people is like people are really excited about going home very soon, and already preparing for galas, shows, decorating their houses. The streets have already been decorated with lanterns, with chunlian. And so now the mood in China is like, whoa, okay, we're gonna celebrate this Chinese New Year, and especially in the past 3 years because of the COVID restrictions, a lot of people who are doing crucial work in big cities, they didn't go home for 3 years during Chinese New Year, because they have to do quarantines, etc., etc. So they just chose to not go home. But this year, without any restrictions, without any quarantines, they can finally go home and meet their family members and spend the Chinese New Year with them. That's very important. So the whole mood among Chinese people are actually very excited for the upcoming Chinese New Year, and a lot of people already planning trips to different countries. I'm planning trips to different countries this year, so really looking forward to travel to the ocean, the beach, and I want to go to. I'm still debating whether to go to Africa or some countries in Latin America, or maybe Indonesia. So. Mhm. Hey, Fernando, I see you. Did you get COVID, JJ? Yes, I did get COVID. I get COVID in mid-December. In mid-December, it's very interesting because I didn't leave my apartment. I assumed the Omicron was got to me through deliveries, through packages. That shows how transmissive COVID was. But I was sick for 1 week. But and then I felt okay. Like now, you see, I'm very strong, talkative, loud again. But I think, and it affects different people very differently. I have friends. Um, Her mother uh, is has had a very bad symptoms, pains all over her body. But her grandmother recovered much faster than her mother. So sometimes, even though you're maybe in the elderly groups, you may be older, but still you recover much faster than younger people. So it really depends on your health conditions. It really depends on um, your immune system. So your age is not the definition about who is in the vulnerable groups. I see some middle-aged and people even my age, um, very had very very bad symptoms, and a lot of I saw some people on Douyin, grandmas in their 80s and 90s. recovered from COVID. So there's no fixed rule who will be affected the worst. It really depends on your own health. So I think we all should take good measures to protect our family members because you don't know whether it will hit you hard. You don't know whether you'll be totally fine. So take care of our family members and elderlies. Okay. Tammy Wu Lei. Vietnam is the place to go. I went to Vietnam before. I think it was in 2015, maybe. I love the country. I love the food. Oh my god. The food. Oh, okay. So I probably will go back to Vietnam again just because I cannot forget their food. So this is the case. What do we talk about the new rules? We talk about the how it will impact the world economy after the China's reopening, and we talked why it's necessary to for China to adopt strict COVID policies, and why we are changing it now. I think we covered almost everything, right? I think we've covered everything, a lot of the things. But I think the most important reason I want to do this live stream is to first explain all these rules and all this data to you, of course. The second is the Western media's flip flop of tactics attacking China is just hilarious. Like, do they want China to open or not? It's just really hilarious. So you probably saw that as well. So okay, I know I ranted a lot in my videos because those media are just doing horrible jobs. They try to say China took a U-turn of policies, but you know what? They took a U-turn attacking China. Before they were attacking China's draconian COVID policies. Now they're attacking China's relaxations. Like, what do you want? Make up your mind. So their negative reporting on China has gone absolutely absurd. And of course, they are using China as a convenient scapegoat for their own failures. They are very crazily focusing on the death numbers in China. On the other hand, the United States have more than 1 million deaths, and different countries have so many deaths, and they don't care about it anymore. And they blame, and when China put the lockdowns, and they blame the recession of the world economy on China because China's lockdown stopped the supply chain. And now when China eased the rules, they attack the relaxation again. So, and also I think I want to once again mention this. I mentioned this in my previous videos because blaming China is a big and a very well paid industry. Let's not forget that in 2021, the Senate of the United States passed a bill called Counter Chinese Influence Act. That bill authorized a countering Chinese influence fund, which will allocate 300 million US dollars for each fiscal year from 2022 to 2026 to counter the malign influence of the Chinese Communist Party globally. And what's I don't know what do they mean by malign influence, because China is basically just lifting people out of poverty, building roads, building infrastructures, and that's the malign influences. Of course, that countering Chinese influence fund was basically targeting the Belt and Road Initiative carried out in different countries. So you will see all this negative reporting on the subjects carried out by Chinese companies, on the other infrastructure projects carried out under the Belt and Road Initiative. They even spent money training local journalists to specifically write negative stories about China's projects. And they will get, I think, 1,000 US dollars, if I remember that correctly. Help me to find that report because I don't have the screenshot of that. So each of them will get a certain amount of money from the U.S. embassies in their country for each piece stories they write about negative each negative Chinese stories they wrote. So that's a big thing. So uh, blaming China is a big industry. Those people will get paid, and a lot of people will get, such as those journalists working for several Western mainstream media, they will get a lot of views. They will get a lot of clicks, and they pretend they care about Chinese people, whether you will be affected. Like I'm doing this for your freedom, for your democracy, for your, like, we fight with you, but they really don't. They really just want to create chaos inside our country. And in the end, when if something bad happened here, they just return to their country, live in the chaos with us, and we are the only people suffering from the chaos. So we must see this through and protect the stability of our own society, of our own country. We know what is good for us. We successfully survived from COVID-19, most of us, a country with 1.4 billion people. And now we are recovering the economy. And when the world economy recovered, everyone will benefit from this. And I really hope, like I mentioned in the earlier in the live stream, the face-to-face communications, people-to-people exchanges are crucial for us to have to understand each other, to understand different cultures, to have a good relationship, good friendship, because we all come from a different cultural backgrounds, different societies. We may all take some different, adopt different roles to develop. We all have different political systems, but being different means evil? Definitely no. You may not agree with China's policies. You probably don't like China's ways of doing things. Understandable. I totally agree. I totally understand why you have this frustration, because we grew up in different cultures, in different backgrounds. We prefer different things. Understandable. We can understand each other. But being different doesn't mean we are enemies. We can coexist with the differences. So I really hope that you all can come to China and talk to us, um, trying to understand. And like I always travel to different countries. I've studied in the UK. I always travel to different countries. I've traveled across Asia, across Europe. I also went to North America. And when I see different cultures and different political systems, I try to understand. When I see different religions, I try to understand. So you won't villainize a group of people. You will try to understand. When I see people different from me, I try to understand their standpoint and their approach. That's how we make the earth much a better place. That's how we can coexist harmoniously, friendly, right? So I think this is a good start. Only bad news leads to pleaser and stuff. Yes, yes, Fernando. You're right. I agree. I'm not sure if I can coexist with, say, Trump. Well, sure, that's your opinion. I'm surprised with so many people joining this live stream, because this is only the second time I do live streams. I've never, I only did one live stream during the year end review. But thank you so much for all. Um, give you all give me so much support and keep the live chat going. Very interesting. So I will do more live streams in the future. There's another topic I really want to talk with you. I really want to discuss with you, and I'm thinking do a live stream soon. Is the Do you know that a group of among 30 around 30 Islamic figures and scholars from different countries, from different Muslim countries, are visiting Xinjiang now. And just yesterday, the chairman of the World Muslim Communities released an announcement. In that announcement, released announcement in Xinjiang. So he said, and he praises China's counterterrorism measures. And so they're still visiting Xinjiang, traveling different cities. So I'm following this news. And as I gather more information, I will try to write an article and also make a live stream and discuss this with all of you. This is very interesting. So thank you so much for joining this live stream. Happy to see you on George Galloway's show again. Yes, thank you. Last night UK time, but this morning Beijing time I was on George Galloway's show. Also exposing the hypocrisy of several Western media when they cover COVID situation in China. Blockchain dude, you're doing an amazing job. Thank you so much. Great live stream. Dwayne Lawrence, thank you for coming in. Great live stream. Thanks, Li Jingjing. Thank you. We definitely need more global exchange between peoples. Yes. But whenever you have time, try to go to different countries, different cultures, and not with arrogant view, because I also noticed some people from certain Western countries or some reporters, when they go to countries, for example, in countries in Asia or Africa, they always have, not everyone, but some of them do have this arrogant view, looking at local people, think they are less developed, they are primitive, refuse to understand their culture, understand what led to the situation, what led to what they're saying. It may be there were maybe historical reasons. There probably are cultural, religious regions, but I think it's important that we try to understand from their local people's point of view. Just like when some commentators or reporters, when they write stories about countries in Asia or Africa, they always speak on behalf of them. They don't ask local people how how do they think, or when give them very different answers. They try to, for example, those medias always paint Chinese people as one thing. You are either the poor oppressed Chinese people that are living under dictatorship, or if you give a view that different from what they expected, like my view, I totally agree and support. And I really the most of the policies here, and because I see the changes, I live here, I can see the changes of my life. So that's why I agree with the policies, and also I grew up in different cultural backgrounds. But then when you give them a different view, they would say, "Oh, like you're just propaganda machine. You're just mouthpiece. You don't have your free thoughts, free will. You just forced to say this. See, you are either too oppressed or you are just a propaganda machine." That's very convenient for them to paint us with the one thing. I would say China has 1.4 billion people. We are a large population, and we all may have a very different views. This is my view, and I also know people who don't like the COVID restrictions. I also know people who really like the COVID restrictions because they have family members to take care of. So we are all different. We probably have millions of different views on many things, and we pay attention to the world news, to politics, to everything going on around us. And Chinese people, especially the young generation, are getting more and more educated. As I mentioned, like Chinese people always travel to different countries. Search for destinations have jumped 3 times within 30 minutes of their relaxation. So they always travel to different countries and study in different countries as well. Now we have a lot of Chinese students almost in every country. This is very crucial for the young generations to open their mind, open their eyes to understand different cultures. So I hope all of you can try to do the same, and don't look at us as one thing, because each individuals have different thoughts. This is my view, and another Chinese person probably have very different view from mine. So I think it's just important that we try to understand each other and coexist with each other much harmoniously. I don't mind people having different views from mine. And I don't mind people criticize me if their criticism is reasonable. And I don't mind people giving me advices because I think that all help me to improve. So if you're reasonable, you're not a troll, and you have different opinions, I totally respect, and I totally respect that and I understand. That's not an issue. We still can be friends. I have friends that I argue with all the time, but that doesn't stop us from being friends. And that's actually make us much more intelligent because without jumping out of your bubble, without jumping out of your echo chamber, you will never understand different points of views. So when people call me 五毛, I call them 五分. um, thanks for this live chat, Jing Jing. Got to go. Okay, thank you. Bye bye. You are the best. Salute from Serbia. Hi. Okay, guys. So, whoa, this live stream is about 1 hour. That's long. Okay. Um, so I didn't think, yeah, brainwashed. Fernando, you mentioned it. Yeah, they will say us as brainwashed, right? I agree. Even inside the CPC, there are many different opinions. Exactly. That's why they have the two sessions, the meetings to give different proposals, to discuss all the issues that concerning the society, concerning our lives. So we came out with the appropriate policies that really change the people's lives. Very important. Okay, I think, guys, I will stop my live stream now. I didn't know that I could talk for 1 hour just all by myself. But this is I really need to give the appreciation for all of you guys who are watching this live stream and keep the live chat going. This is my second live chat, and we'll try to do more live stream in the future. So if you haven't subscribed to my channel, subscribe to my channel, hit the bell so you get notified when I publish new contents. And really, really appreciate your efforts. And I always read your comments and advice, and try to change my contents, programs based on what you prefer. So do give me comments, do hit the like buttons, and let's see whether I will come up with the better programs for you guys. Thank you so much, Jixiang Ruyi. Thank you. Okay, bye. Have a good night, good morning, good afternoon if you are from different regions. And it's already 11 p.m. in Beijing. I will go to sleep very soon. Thank you so much for staying in this live stream. Stay tuned with my channel. I will discuss with you on a lot more issues in the future. Okay, bye.